They're cute and curious creatures, here watching traffic go by on a busy Santa Fe street. But these prairie dogs, like any other rodents, could easily carry the plague. Somewhere along the way, though, there has to be other animal or human contact. This kid has been told to stay away from rats and the like. The cat stays indoors. But in too many cases, cats are allowed to roam and catch mice. The cat gets sick and perhaps carries fleas which might infect humans. There's been 32 confirmed cases of cat plague in New Mexico. 4 humans have come down sick, mostly in northern New Mexico.
It probably has something to do with the ecology of the area here, where our pinyon juniper woodland habitat seems to be a good habitat where plague can persist in the environment and come back year after year.
In fact, this year has been a record year for plague for one main reason. Lots of plant growth, part of El Nino storms, sparked a rodent explosion. The more little creatures out there means more possibilities of plague. And the scary part is if not recognized and treated early, it can be deadly. So here's the simple version on how to keep it away.
You just need to try to avoid rodents and try to avoid rodent fleas. That means keeping your pets from going out roaming and hunting, trying to keep them from bringing the fleas back into your house by treating them with flea powder if they do need to be outside.
These kids are happy and healthy. Their parents seem to be doing a good job in raising them. But there's no way their mom or dad will win the state's Parents of the Year award. Why not? Because one criteria is the parents have to be married. Single parents who didn't know the award existed until recently don't think that's fair.
We all work very hard with our kids. We're very dedicated, we're very loving, we're very committed to our children. We just don't have a partner that lives in the same home with us.
The award's been given out the past 4 years. It's in conjunction with National Parents Day, which is next Sunday. Local organizers say there are already days like Mother's Day and Father's Day to honor individuals. Why not an award for joint accomplishments? Especially, they say, when studies show two-parent families raise kids who are less likely to get into trouble.
And so married couples today face enormous challenges balancing family time with work responsibilities, the changing roles of parents. And we've honored some wonderful couples over the years.
It's too late to do anything this year. The closing date for nominations was this past weekend, but you can bet single-parent groups will try to make changes in time for next year's awards. Nanette Miranda, Action 7 News.
You're pulling off the freeway, and the first thing you see is this: a street-side beggar down on his luck. He needs a buck and maybe a ride to some far-off place. Panhandling is against the law in Albuquerque. Every dollar this man takes, illegal.
How much money you make today? So far, $1. $1?
This guy usually makes $25 a day. Shortly after our talk, a cop rolled by and our friend hit the road. So we tracked down this couple. They were on the other side of town. This is the man I gave $1 to. His name is Mike Stewart.
The food in the dumpsters really spoils pretty quick. And my wife and I and my dog have got to eat.
This is Mike's wife, Exali. They've been living under this tree for 2 days, panhandling, curbside under the hot sun.
We sit out here on the corner and sweat, and the only thing we got is a tree to hide under to get cooled off.
The Stewarts say on their best day ever, they raked in $250. But on this day, they only made $3. One of those dollars went towards dog food for Zeke, their 3-month-old pup. That's money well spent, but what about all the beer cans and liquor bottles that litter the Stewarts' campsite? Police say many times that's what your donation buys.
You're just creating more of a problem by giving them the money, because that encourages more of them to show up on the on-ramps and fill up every intersection in the city with...
As for Mike Stewart, after we left him, he hooked up with a buddy, so we followed. And finally, we witnessed what my dollar helped buy. Mike hadn't bought any food at all, rather an 18-pack of cold beer.
It was late Wednesday afternoon before the absentee precinct board finished its work, nearly 24 hours after the polls closed. But they didn't even look at the paper ballots from people who went to the polls in person because they never received absentee ballots. That was at least 1,600 votes. Those votes will eventually be added in during the official canvass due July 3rd. Representatives of the clerk's office blame part of the delay on lack of equipment.
The whole process associated with the absentee side of things would be made easier if we had a more mechanized, computerized process. In large part, we think we would have avoided having as many in lieu of absentee ballots if we had something more mechanized in place.
But at least one county commissioner says if County Clerk Judy Woodward needed more equipment, she should have asked for it.
We just approved our budget, and I didn't see anything in the budget that she had requested for additional equipment or machinery. I don't think we would support it.
Sky 7 shows us what's left of the small mobile home. Literally nothing. Investigators say it was broken into, then intentionally set ablaze. The fire, which began at about 10 a.m., ripped through the home quickly. By the time firefighters got to the scene, it was too late.
Even though the structure was totally lost, the fire did begin to spread into the trees, but we were able to contain that fairly quickly.
Some nearby residents had to be evacuated for a short time. Fumes from the fire and meth lab can be dangerous. One firefighter had to be treated for smoke inhalation. Armed deputies stood guard during the cleanup because they've been shot at similar meth lab explosion scenes.
Could you have Moriarty 80 come up here? We're going to go ahead and release them from the scene.
This kind of devastation is becoming an all too familiar scene for residents living in this part of the East Mountains. In February, not too far away from Sunday's scene, Carl Ray allegedly set his home on fire as authorities closed in on what they described as his meth lab. And last June, in the same area, this house exploded too, but whether it's drug-related is unclear. Residents don't like the pattern they're seeing.
My concern is that, I don't want that in my neighborhood. Or to have the area burnt down because of the drugs.
This may be the third explosion in 3 months, but that's not enough to make families reconsider where they're living. Nanette Miranda, Action 7 News.